Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Hey, everybody.
That was an interesting pause.
What?
In between every and body. So, hey, every. Anyways, continue.
This is why I wasn't here last time.
Is it?
No, not really, actually. Life got in the way last time. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 208 of The Established Facts. We are now 10 times more efficient than we were at episode 28.
Really?
I mean, technically, mathematically speaking, we would be.
Okay.
Is that right? 28 times 10? Is that
28
that's
times 280.
That's 280,
Not quite
which
there
we're
yet.
Not
not really
mathematically
there yet.
speaking at all.
No.
You
I'm
know.
like, stop talking mathematics.
It's all made up and the points don't matter.
Saving the game, though, is that much closer to getting it past us, though. I'm waiting for them to just do it.
I mean,
hold them off.
that's what happens when they do things religiously. Hey,
Oh.
I can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
Faithfully,
Added people.
they're so faithful.
They're so-
with what
are they
going
gonna
to
be-
Somebody will.
Fear the con?
I would assume Jenny, but I don't know
Yeah.
about the rest.
Well, is
Grant and Peter.
yeah.
The words are hard.
No. I'm trying to remember who runs the Traveler game. It's not Grant or
it's
Peter.
Tyler.
Is it? Tyler's the one who runs the Traveler.
Churcher.
That's right. Okay, never mind. Hi, welcome to The Established Facts. I am the host and forgot how to do anything. Let's go ahead and go around the table and introduce, for the people that are here and listening to this madness, who is here. Go ahead, start to my left. I'm looking right at you.
This is Josh.
This is Dr. Deb, and I am here.
That's right. And this is your host, Big Don, who is not always here, but always here in spirit. Gosh darn it. I missed you guys the last couple of episodes. Got a chance to do some things with family, which I don't get to do very often. And so I definitely jumped at the chance of that. But I'm glad that Avital and Josh and Deb had a really fun discussions, it looks like, about playing board games in RPG land or playing RPGs in board game land.
Avital's running a game in Candyland.
I know. I'm excited about that. I know that
I don't know if I'll be able to play, but it sounds fun.
our friends Lance and his wife Vanessa have done that before for us, and that's been a lot of fun before. So that's exciting. And then getting a chance to talk a little bit about cosplay and creating costumes and stuff like that. I think that's definitely an opportunity for us to expand into maybe talking to some other people that do cosplay. I am excited about that as well. So anyhow, for episode 208, we were kind of having a little bit of a discussion as we do before the episode, just kind of clearing things up. And something that I don't know that we've ever really talked about is games that we haven't played and the reason why. And I don't just mean games that we haven't been exposed to, but games that we've actively decided, hey, this is not a game that I really want to get into, or for whatever reason have maybe had an opportunity presented to us and decided against it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to lead in with a versus topic. I know we haven't done that in a little while, but figured, why fix it if it ain't broke? So for our versus topic in episode 208, we're going to very quickly, since there's only 3 of us, this should be a fairly fun discussion and move fairly quickly. But we're going to do a versus topic of self-taught gamer versus apprenticed gamer, and I will explain a little bit more in definition what that means.
So, real quick to that, I think I just realized what Deb was saying, that we may have done this versus before. I think the verse we did was a person who reads the rules and a person who doesn't. I think
That's what it was.
That was
Okay.
where it came from. I do think this is slightly different.
Slightly different.
Or we will make it
It is
slightly different.
It is a similar vein.
Yes.
I felt like a similar flavor, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
it is.
maybe
It
not
is, but it's-
exactly. So, okay.
It's chocolate cheesecake versus New York style cheesecake.
Sure. Okay.
So it's so to kind of yeah, right. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract anybody with cheesecake or anything like that.
And now you're all running a cheesecake factory.
Right.
I know it.
That's it. So for our versus topic, self-taught gamer, I'm defining self-taught gamer as someone who purchases, let's say you purchase, what's some of the new hotness? Marvel Champions. Let's say you buy Marvel Champions, which is a new Upper Deck game. If you've not played it, it's a lot of fun. Let's say you buy Marvel Champions and your gaming group, nobody else has purchased it, and you know that you're going to have to be the one that teaches everyone because they're never going to actually look at the rule book. Are you the kind of person to take the initiative and watch the YouTube tutorials and read through the instruction book, maybe even play a one-player version of the game so that you know how to play it correctly so that you can teach it to your friends? Or are you the schlub like myself who waits until all their awesome friends reads through the instruction books or watches the YouTube videos to teach you how to play, but then, in turn, learn how to play and teach others? So that would be self-taught gamer versus apprenticed gamer. And we'll go ahead, since we only have one at the table, and we'll start with ladies first. Dr. Deb, are you a self-taught gamer or an apprenticed gamer? Your preference?
My preference, as long as my husband doesn't die, self-taught gamer. I'm one who will actually pull the rule book out, and when everyone makes weird faces about how do we do that again, I will pull it out. I'm looking at the rules. Remember that book that comes with us that some of us like to toss in the corner? I like to read the thing. Actually, I prefer, if my perfect world would be that everybody just leaves me the flip alone for about 20 minutes. Let me read the book. Let me look at what's in front of me, the cards, the pieces, whatever it is. Let me get the lay of the land in my own head, because, yay, introverted thinking judger, I'm in my own head, but I need it in front of me. So open up the game, leave me alone, give me 20 minutes, 25 tops, and I can at least, as opposed to sit down with somebody teaching me there, I'm always like, what about this? What about this? What about that? Be quiet, let me teach you. I want to learn. I want you to teach me. What about this? And what about this? And you forgot to tell me about this. Not good. So, self-taught.
Okay. That was a long, quick-fire answer. Joshy. Self-taught or...
It was a sniper answer. She took her time to make sure
bam,
that
got it.
I am most definitely an apprentice gamer, which is why I married a self-taught one.
There you go.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. I would have to say the same. I am also very much an apprentice gamer. There are times when I have aspirations to want to sit down and read rule books and learn how to play games correctly. And that is a very fleeting thing.
That right there, I think that right there is the biggest discrepancy, though. Because I will gladly learn how to play a game if I sit down to play the game and someone shows me.
Oh, he is, Samuel.
For me, the biggest difference, though, with the self-taught is I'll gladly sit down at a table and let somebody teach me how to play it. I also don't mind watching a video of somebody showing me, because I'm a very visual learner. My problem is the rule book, and I think that came up in the first one, is that I'm not big on reading, just kind of in general. So, I'm not.
No, I'm not. I'm laughing because I am the same way. Like,
sigh. Apparently, I get to be the odd one out at this table here, folks. Because
it's worse for me because, you know, in your husband-wife relationship, you have a self-starter. I don't. If I want to teach my wife how to play a game, I have to learn how to play that game correctly all the way through so that I can then try and figure out when to sit her down and teach her how to play the game. And that is not always the easiest thing. I just bought Terraforming Mars because we played it about a month or so ago with some friends and really loved that game. That is definitely a game that both Bonnie and Deb will love.
Awesome.
I bought Terraforming Mars.
Bring the rule book over.
I will.
In the next few days.
Well, and the nice thing is, Josh and I have played it before too. So and I will say this from our experience, there are people that are very talented at teaching games, and then there are people who just teach games. And one of our friends, Tim McCurry, taught us how to play Terraforming Mars. And he is one of the people who is very good at teaching games. So though there may be some discrepancies because it's been probably a month and a half or so since we played that game, I think that if I brought over the rule book for you to let you look through it, once we actually sat down to teach Bonnie how to play, a lot of it would kind of come back.
Remember,
yeah, we'd be able to remember the process of playing through the game. So that is definitely a resource management heavy game, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of little twists and turns, and you can customize things for you and the way that your play style is. So anyhow, but yeah, I think that that's definitely an issue that I have is that, you know, though I may have an aspiration to be a bit of a self-starter, there are some games that I have actually cracked open the instruction book to try and learn how to play. It's not very often. And so that can lead to having games that are still in plastic wrap that you haven't opened yet, and you keep trying to convince yourself to actually read the instruction book, because if you don't, you're never going to actually play that game that you bought. So that can be. I feel like no, that's definitely not. And I feel like that can be a struggle. You know, trying to teach someone how to play a game when you are also trying to teach yourself how to play the game correctly. Which is another facet of learning how to play a game and playing a game that people like versus playing a game that people don't like is having a good grasp of what the rule set is. Because as we learned, you know, a while back when we were all playing the Pathfinder adventure card game together, we played through almost the entire series of that story arc in was it Wrath of the Righteous? Was that the no? It was the
big
first.
One.
Yeah, it was
Rise of the Rune Lords.
Rise of the Rune Lords. We were playing through the adventure card game, and we had been playing it one way for probably 90% of the game, and then realized that we had been playing a rule incorrectly that was a major influence to how things had gone in previous games. And I think that there were definitely two thoughts at the table. One of them was, well, let's just play the way we've been playing because we've been playing wrong, just to say that we completed it, even though there's a big asterisk right next to it. And then the other was, well, we could always just start over. And it was like, yeah, no.
I was in the start over group, people, because that's me. I'm the completionist, but complete it correctly, but I got overruled.
We ended up adjusting the game so that we could play correctly for like the last 5 decks, and it was definitely not what we had wanted, but it happened, and it was a thing. And and we completed it. By gum, we completed it. But by gum,
yeah.
By gosh, by golly,
by rook or by crook.
That's it. You know, again, like I was saying, there are games that I think a lot of us experience through our course as game enthusiasts, people who are passionate about whether it be video games or board games or role playing games. Really, any type of entertainment like that, where we can run into situations where we play something that we think is going to be a really good experience, and then it turns into not being a good experience. And so that's kind of where I want our discussion to lead into, now that we've kind of gotten through most of the versus topic, is turning that into a discussion on games that we have chosen to stray away from for one reason or another, and a discussion as to what those reasons are. And then maybe talk a little bit about games that we played and perhaps had a bad experience the first time we played it, but then gave it a second chance, and it has definitely turned us around on our opinions of those games. So I guess I'll go ahead and start with Joshy. Joshy, is there a game or a game series of some kind that you, across all boards, video games, there's no holds barred on this. Is there any type of game that you can think of that you decided not to get into, or maybe tried and just really didn't like?
So, and this will, if we were getting any real feedback in the comment section, would just get me all kinds of any of the war-related games. And I state that
what do you mean
because,
by war-related games?
Yeah,
okay.
Because to me, Warhammer, Risk,
Oh, okay.
Axis and Allies,
Heavy strategy.
World War
Got
II,
it.
like
Yeah.
all of those games, all of them. And the reason why I say it would get me on the comment section is I know Warhammer's not even remotely in the same ballpark as a Risk, Axis and Allies or World
No,
War
but it's
II
a heavy
game, but-
it's a heavy war style strategy game.
Yes. I didn't get into them. I haven't gotten into them. I will give the war game a chance one of these times we actually decide to play it because the wife wants me to, and I'll gladly at least give it one shot. But my struggle with those games is the amount of time it takes to take your turn and
Sure.
wait for your next turn. I kind of mentioned this.
You're
impatient.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a problem saying that. Honestly, it was a big, and I'll bring it up and talk more about it later. It's a big reason why I didn't like worker placement games until I found a couple that I preferred, and we'll talk about that later. But they look great. All of those games do. I mean, I've seen literally all three of the Risk, Axis and Allies, the war game, all of them laid out, everybody playing, everybody having a really good time. They look great. But when I see someone start their turn and then 30 minutes later come back and they're not done with their turn,
Or you come
They
back
don't know
and they
what they're
haven't
doing.
started their next turn yet.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's accurate in the war game. And I'm going to say, if you had a war
Right.
game that someone took 30 minutes, they don't know what they're doing. So
I
you're
understand
gonna
that.
give them that.
but I mean, Warhammer, I saw a lot of similarities too, especially with the big game Warhammers where
Yeah.
there's like 200 pieces out there.
1,000-point
Yeah.
armies, 1,500-point armies.
And people are pushing people here and there and taking shots here and there. Now, that said, I did see War Machine, that very much scaled down version of that in a similar play style. And then we had a lot more fun with that one. So I think those war games are the ones that really kind of I've just avoided like the plague.
Okay, well, yeah, I can definitely see heavy strategy games. I know that those have definitely never been something that you've sought out.
I think I'm learning that I can find strategy
Sure.
games with heavy strategy fun, but ones that are almost entirely strategy,
Yeah.
but not really. I mean, I can't say luck, but I don't know. I don't know. They're just
Yeah.
I'm impatient. My wife had. I'm impatient.
Sure. Well, Deb, your husband has obviously, pun intended, assaulted upon all of your love for war strategy type games. What is, whether it be a specific game or a genre of game that you have decided is not something that you are even going to want to tiptoe into?
So if Josh stepped on my kind of a genre I enjoy, so I will therefore now step on a genre which I'm sure I know you enjoy, Don, to return the favor.
Yep.
So I'm going to step on Magic: The Gathering.
Collectible and trading card game.
Yes. I pick Magic specifically because I hear it mentioned a lot. You've got your Magic tournaments, and your friend Alan used to play competitively, and you
Correct.
played, and Josh has played, and all you Magic people, you're all, yeah, you all play
Y'all.
it, and I'm trying to think if I've ever had an interest in wanting to play, and I think maybe briefly, but then you all would start talking about the nuances of this deck build and this deck build and going into this competition, and if I had just picked this card instead of this one for my deck build, then and I hear that and I'm sort of like, no. And I think the reason is because there is so much nuances into a deck building game for the people who are hardcore into it. They understand so much of the strategy. They're willing to invest so much of their money into this thing. And even people who play light, there's still just this, I don't know. There's too much to it, which is crazy because I'm trying to understand what it is that I don't like about that. Because I'm someone who likes to really get into games and understand why games work. Maybe because they keep expanding. Oh, there we go. Now we found it. Okay. So if you handed me a box and said, this is Magic the Gathering, it will never be anything more than this. There will not be 72,000 expansions. There will not be a card that's worth literally thousands of dollars that someone bought and is going to possibly use against you. The Black Lotus, was that the card?
That's one of them. One of
Okay.
many.
There will never be a risk that someone will play a Black Lotus on you in a competition because it doesn't exist. If you could do that to me, I think I would be interested in playing. But because it just keeps going and going and going, and that one I play today may be totally different than what somebody is going to play in 3 years, and it expands, and it's this ever morphing. It's a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger? No, it's not. It's not.
No, that's a different board game, actually.
Exactly. There you go. So I think because it's this ever morphing, always changing, and that's something that a lot of people love about it, which rock on, 2 thumbs up to you. It doesn't say the same. It's not boring. It terrifies me. And as someone once said about knitting, we do not want our knitting to terrify us, nor do we want our games to terrify us. And so that just, I'm like, no, I have no idea of even where I would even start. Like, I look at it and I'm like, where? Do I start with the Magic from 10 years ago? Do I start with the Magic from next month? Do I start with the Magic in a year when it probably
Sure.
will change again? I literally have no...
I can definitely answer those questions. I know that obviously they're rhetorical. To me, if I was going to make any sort of suggestion on getting into a game style like that, and this is definitely not me trying to sell you on card games, because I understand exactly where you're coming from, and that was actually going to be my comment to you. I would say very similar to the Doctor. Start at the beginning of a set.
Okay.
Because the beginning of the set sets forth the foundation of that specific set, and every expansion that comes out associated with that set is going to have some sort of synergy with that set.
Okay.
So, similar to the Doctor, if you start with Capaldi,
Yep.
you're going to understand the nuances of Capaldi.
Yep.
And you can watch Capaldi with no problem. And then, now that you understand the basics of what the Doctor looks like, or what the Magic set looks like, now you can kind of expand your vision to other sets.
Okay.
Okay? So that's what I would say.
Okay.
Because I know that you're a huge Doctor Who fan, and that was actually the discussion that you and I had several years ago before I had become a Doctor Who fan.
Yes.
Because that was kind of the question I brought, was how does someone get into something
With this
that
much
has
history.
60 plus years of history via audio and video and storybook
And audio. Yeah, I was going to...
format,
Audio,
like
video,
radio
stories.
plays, movies, things like
Comics,
that.
like
Right.
he's
Like,
got- yeah.
how does one just tackle this beast? And similar to the expression I heard the other day, or was reminded of, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yes.
So I would have to say that would be my suggestion if you ever decide to get into something like that. However, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that there's too much.
Yeah.
Because as someone who started playing Magic the Gathering, I think I was 15 when we started playing Magic. My friend Alan and I started playing Magic together, which was 20 years ago. I started in 7th edition. He started playing in Ice Age, and I know that for you guys, these set names are completely arbitrary.
Somebody
but
out there
Arbitrary.
understands.
someone understands what I'm saying. But I took it first of all, I've always been the kind of person that takes on the challenge head on. Like, let's do this. Let's figure this out. Let's figure out what's going to work for me, kind of thing. I was taught the basic mechanics of the game. I played people that were better than me and asked a lot of questions, figured out what I liked, and then realized that there were things out there for me to be able to customize my own theme to be able to work to my strengths in strategy. So it wouldn't be much different than you playing Risk, but being able to customize your army to what works best for your strategy. Okay? Now, I would have to say, you had kind of already touched on that, and I was going to ask you if you felt the same way about living card games, but then you kind of reeled that answer in by just saying, if you said that there was this set, this is Magic the Gathering, it's all in this one box.
For example, deck building games.
Right.
Because I'm staring at Star Realms up there.
Yeah.
And the Harry Potter dueling game, which is over there, which are
Right.
both deck builders.
Yeah.
I love deck builders.
Right.
I actually really like them. So I was like, so what's the difference? And it's
Right.
because
It's 'cause it's all in
you
the
hand
box.
me the big deck, and that's all the cards that you can ever play inside there.
Even Pathfinder Adventure
Yeah,
card game,
which I love.
Pathfinder Adventure card game is more of a living card game where you
Mm-hmm.
start with a basic deck, and then as you're playing through the adventure, similar to Arkham Horror or even Marvel Champions
Yep.
that we had talked about earlier, those are living card games. So you start with a base deck, but then you're getting access to other things to improve your deck. But it's typically Arkham and Marvel are a little different because they have expansions that you can buy for the game, but those are optional expansions that don't change anything about the game, except for it adds a new character or it adds a new element to that game.
Yes.
But it's always still the base game.
Right. And
now-
I really like those, and that's a different flavor. And I don't know, yes, it's
Right.
There's similarities, but there's also big differences.
Or
and
like Dominion.
Yeah,
Dominion or Ascension or
Ascension,
games
right.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mean-
collectible card games, trading card games are I honestly think the reason that there is such a huge boom for deck building games and living card games right now is because people like myself who are in their 30s, who have played Magic the Gathering since they were kids, have their own kids and look at it as, I have spent a fortune
yeah.
on these cards, and I don't want to spend 2 fortunes on maintaining my own collection and one for my child.
Exactly.
So what sort of game can I get into that is going to have that similar strategic element of playing cards, but I can buy it in a one-stop shop solution?
Preach.
And I think that is why
Yeah.
deck building games and living card games have done so well.
Because I was literally just thinking money sink as I was thinking
Right.
about magic. Like one of the first words that just, what's the first word that pops into your head when I say magic? Money sink or black hole. Like, because you are spending so much money, but you never really arrive. I mean, maybe the person who owns the Black Lotus out there, maybe, okay, you have arrived.
Yeah, but even
All right,
still, those are
congratulations.
far and few
Exactly.
between.
Exactly.
And
So
same,
when have you-
same with Magic Pro players.
Right.
Magic Pro players, people who make money playing games like Magic the Gathering or other collectible trading card games, those people are far and few between.
Yeah, exactly. So I would far rather have a deck building game where you hand me the game. These are all the cards that you could ever get in the game. And yes, maybe you get an expansion to it. Okay, you just added 25 cards to that deck. Okay, fine. I'm not opposed to that. The Harry Potter adventure card game. I love that thing. I played that game by myself.
Battle of Hogwarts.
Yeah, the Battle
Yeah,
of Hogwarts. I
that's
played that game by
such a good game.
myself.
Yep.
I mean, that's how much I loved it. And that deck is huge. When
Yeah.
you are finally playing at year 7, holy cow, it's an enormous deck. That didn't bother me.
We're playing around with the idea of having a scalable living card game element to that, just to see how different the gameplay would be. So
Yeah.
instead of you refreshing your deck back to its basic
Yep.
between years, holding on
Yes.
to certain things.
Oh, that would have made it so much better.
Just to
I never
see what
understood why
happens.
you forgot everything. You're a year
Right.
7.
Yeah.
Hermione had not forgotten everything from
Yeah,
years
that's
1
a
to
fact.
6. Okay.
That's a fact.
How on earth was she able to use the Elder Wand?
That's right.
There's no way. So I'm like, that didn't make any sense to me. No, you just know Alohomora. I'm going to graduate from Hogwarts in a year. I better know more than Alohomora.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my
All right.
moment.
So I
see,
would
I-
would have to say, contrary to both of your guys' arena, first of all, I love strategy games and don't play them nearly as much as I'd like. And of course, I love collectible card games, trading card games, living card games, all of those things. But a genre of gaming that and this is a pretty broad genre, but a genre of gaming that I have never really been enthusiastic about is, in general, computer gaming. I enjoy console gaming, and I know that console gaming and computer gaming, though they are very different, play ball in the same types of arenas when it comes to their game content. However, I can sit down in front of my console, I can play for 25 minutes, feel completely satisfied, and walk away from my console and turn it off. But I feel like for me, PC gaming, there is at least, and it may just be my own mentality, and this is in my opinion probably why I don't enjoy it. There's a lot more investment that I need to make for a computer game to be what it should be compared to everyone else's computer game experience. Whether it be a monetary investment on a really good PC, a monetary investment on really good games, or a time investment on making sure that my character or my person or my gameplay in general is fulfilling all of the marks that a good PC gamer would be. First of all, I don't have, and probably first and foremost, I don't have the patience to sit in front of a computer screen for more than, I'm going to say, at the longest, probably an hour. When it comes to gaming, I don't think I could sit in front of a computer screen for longer than an hour and play the same type of game like that. Ironically enough, I say that, and I also remember being, 14, 15, 16, when the internet only really had just existed on a commercial level for consumers. And I played in Euchre chat rooms for legitimately hours.
So did I.
But that, in my opinion, was so different because there would have been no difference between me sitting at a computer screen playing Euchre with a bunch of people and me sitting at an actual table and playing Euchre with other people. I mean, you're not going to... That's why I prefer playing a tabletop role-playing game over playing WoW.
I played competitive Texas Hold'em, like online on one of those sites where you played against other human beings and played Texas Hold'em for like penny and 2 penny annies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did that for hours.
Right.
And that didn't bother me. So
I'm gonna come a little bit in defense of PC gamers right now.
That's fine.
I just had this discussion with Jacob at church, actually, because first off, I'm a console gamer, prefer to be a console gamer. I believe that the value proposition of a console versus that of a PC is considerably higher when discussing gaming and entertainment. Not for all of the functions that a PC can provide, or a Mac, whatever, but
sure,
when it comes to the gaming realm and gaming PCs, there is a cost to get a PC that handles games up to the capability that a PC can handle.
Right.
That said, you can get a console experience out of a PC very easily.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not saying that, but again, being that this is a subjective nature, that's definitely where my hangups are.
Well, but what I'm saying is that over the last few years in particular, somebody like Steam or Origin, or they have
Origin. I have Origin. I have a Steam account.
Right, but they have specifically made big screen modes so that if your computer is just sitting where your console would be and you boot up the computer and you turn on the controller, the big screen mode would come up, and it's literally no different than a console. And I want to make that statement because you could have it plugged into your TV. You could play these games with a controller just as you would from a console. That I want to give the PC makers and the publishing houses credit for understanding that there are a group of us that prefer the console that would love to have a PC that could double as a game thing, but it's got to be something we can easily jump in and jump out of without feeling like we're, especially for years without the solid state drive, it would take minutes, 5-10 minutes to boot a computer up.
Yeah.
Now a solid state drive keeps it under 60 seconds.
Right.
Consoles still don't use solid state drives, and they manage to boot up in under 60 seconds.
Right.
So there's a lot of time element to that, but I want to make sure I'm willing to defend and give the PCs the credit that they're trying to allow for console gamers. But I agree with you. It's so much easier, especially with the save state and the rest states and stuff. Like, the fact that my PS4 boots up in like 10 seconds from a rest state without a solid state drive is awesome.
So I have to tell on myself right now.
Okay.
Because you brought up Origin. And I'm a liar. Because I'll play Sims for about 5 hours. I'm not even joking.
Played Sims
I don't know.
recently.
I've got Sims 4. I literally just downloaded the University expansion for it.
I love the University.
It is pretty much one of the best computer games I've ever played.
I love Sims.
And Don's a big fat liar. So,
I love Sims.
Maybe I should clarify then, now that I'm thinking about that, because I totally hadn't even thought about Sims.
Sims is a computer game.
It is. So maybe what I will do is I will clarify and say MMOs. MMOs are probably
you want
what
to be an Eve player?
Get. No.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I don't want to play Eve. I don't want to play WoW anymore. I did the WoW thing for a little while, and even when I did play WoW, I
tried.
I only enjoyed playing WoW when I was literally in the same room with my friends playing WoW. Mm-hmm. Like I never enjoyed sitting at my desk by myself playing. I would literally play for 30 minutes and then just go, I can't do this. I'm going to go find some people to hang out with. Like, and maybe that's because of my extroverted nature. I'm not a closet gamer. I'm not somebody who wants to just sit and be kind of by myself when it comes to gaming. And I have nothing against people who do that. A lot of my friends do that, and they're comfortable with that. That is not an arena of gaming that I'm comfortable with, is being closed off and being in my own room. If I'm going to play, I loved when I was growing up Warcraft 2 LAN parties. Those were my favorite. Like, bust out some Warcraft and some Warcraft 2 and some StarCraft LAN parties. I'm in. Let's do this. We're all sitting in the same room trying to blow each other's villages up. I'm cool with that. Let's do it. Go ahead, Deb.
Spinning off a little bit of what you said, I was thinking about my own computer gaming experience, and I don't computer game really anymore, but I used to. And I used to play EVE way back in the day. I did play it. I tried WoW, didn't love that too much. Liked EVE, played Sims, and I was like, what happened? Well, part of it is, yay, I'm, grown up now. But then I started realizing a little more practical. I have to use my computer every single day in my job.
Yep.
I have to. There's no choice. But I think, I don't know if all three of us are in that same boat. Obviously, my husband is, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But my husband doesn't computer game either.
I
don't computer
am
game
able
either.
to. I do not do it as much because it is easier to do it on the console.
I'm able to do a lot of things. So why do you choose not to? Because it's easier to do it on the console.
That's it.
I think that's part of it, but I think it's also that I for me personally, I'm done looking at a computer. Computer is when I have to do stuff for school. Okay, yes. When I have to do stuff for work, yes. But for just relaxing and doing stuff that I want to do, I'm kind of done. Like, I'm on a computer all the time. I don't need it in my relaxation time.
Yeah.
Give me something else. Give me a board game in front of me. Give me a dice game. Give me my knitting. Console gaming is different enough because I've got the controller. My husband or my friends are sitting next to me.
It's a different feel.
Right. As opposed to I'm just sitting here plowing through by myself on a computer, which is what I do at work anyway when I'm charting and answering notes and stuff. So I think there's part of that is my relaxation. Now, when I was doing a lot of that computer gaming, which was college and even medical school when I had free time, which, but when I did, but that was different. I was sitting in a classroom all the time. I was not, I took notes on my computer, but then once class was done, close it up and I'm on my way. I didn't have to use it for my job every single day. So I think that's why being on it was not as much of a because I can just imagine sitting in front of a computer and I'm be like, I have to stare at a computer screen all day. Why do I want to stare at this computer screen again?
Yep.
That idea is coming to me.
It's like a cook or a chef in a kitchen.
Right.
Sometimes you have those chefs or you have those cooks that are passionate about their job, but are not passionate to cook food at home.
Right.
So they'll either eat at their kitchen.
Yep.
Or they will just go to another restaurant after work and get food.
And let somebody else do it for a little bit, kind of a thing.
Because it's a labor of love when you're doing it for other people, but when you're doing it for yourself, you're really not that invested.
Right.
Yeah, I totally
there might
agree.
be something to that.
I totally agree with that. I think that brings me to another kind of observance and something that I'm thinking about. When it comes to games, let's say you've had an experience with a game that you didn't like the experience, and for the longest time you didn't want to do it. Whether it was as our my friend Lindsay, what kind of brought on this conversation was my friend Lindsay and I were talking, and she is totally against roleplay gaming. Like, it's too. I literally asked her, so have you ever thought about playing Dungeons and Dragons? Now, Lindsay is a French teacher who loves to read and loves playing games. And her husband and her love playing Star Wars games. I asked her if she would ever play Dungeons and Dragons. She's very well read, and I thought being able to play the character versus being able to read about what the character does seems so much more appealing to me. Would you ever be into it? And she said, no, it's way too geeky. It's way too nerdy. And I was just like, really?
You're a French teacher who reads all the time. Do you want to tell her that she's a nerd?
Oh, yeah,
you
I know.
You gonna reveal this to her?
She knows. I give her a hard time. But
what on earth?
So my question to her was, would you give it a chance? And she said she would be willing to give it a chance depending on the audience.
Okay.
which I thought was great.
Okay.
I thought that that's a step in the right direction to creating a new role player. But I guess maybe that's a question that is similar but different. Mm-hmm. Is there a game that you have played that you did not like the first time you played it, but then you gave it a second chance, and something about that second chance and every opportunity after that has really solidified that as a good game for you? Whether it be, I can think of mine, and I can start if you'd like for me to start with an example.
Yeah, I have to think here.
Okay, so several years ago, I was invited to play in a World of Darkness live-action role-play game. Okay, and we were playing Vampire. I'm sorry. It was Vampire the Masquerade, but we were playing what's called the Sabbat game. And for those of you who don't know much about the background of Vampire the Masquerade, there are 3 houses. There's the Camarilla. The Camarilla are kind of the original Dracula style, keep everything hidden from the rest of the world and continue to hold up what's called the Masquerade, making sure people don't actually know the vampires exist. Then there are the Anarchs, and the Anarchs are kind of like, do what you do. Like, as long as you're making things happen in life, like, do what you do. If you want to keep the Masquerade to an extent, but don't restrict yourself necessarily to have to follow other people's rules all the time. And then there's the Sabbat, and the Sabbat look at reality in a sense as we are the predators and they are the prey, and ever the two shall be. And I was playing in a game that was a Sabbat-themed game, so we were very predatorial in the way that we were playing. It was a very aggressive game. I had a really fun character. I had a really good teammate that was there kind of helping me out with the game. I had never played in a live-action role-play game. And it really turned into kind of an unfortunate experience with our game because a lot of things happened that I won't go into because they were graphic in nature and were definitely displeasing to me when they happened, and I don't really care to talk about those things. But because of those things, I was like, you know what? If this is what a World of Darkness game is going to look like, if this is what a Sabbat game is going to look like, I don't want to play in it. I'm not interested in playing in it. I have been interested in a long time, and now I am absolutely not. And then several years later, I got invited to go, and now it was definitely a different feel, but I got to go to our friend Jason Piercy's Halloween Samhain celebration that he does at the beginning of November, or that his team was running at the beginning of November. It is a 7th Age game, World of Darkness. They play a fairly large menu of different supernatural creatures, from vampires to werewolves to fae and everything else in between in the World of Darkness genre. Because of that experience with Jason's game and the game that Jason and his team, his creative team, hosted, now, and it was like, it's 3 guys, Jason was one of them, and then there were 2 other guys, I believe, that were the storytellers for their 7th Age game, and they all tag teamed and put together this amazing production with little mini games in it and a really cool overarching storyline. And it was very much what I was hoping for the first time I played. And because of that, now I have not committed any time to playing in anyone else's live-action role-playing games, but because of my experience with Jason and the guys who help him put that production together, and the 3 of them, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, whatever, running it together, that game was so high quality and was so much fun that it definitely opened that door back up to me to want to play in a live-action role-play game, even if it's a Sabbat game, because at least now I know that they don't have to go that way, and that, though it is still predatory in nature because of the theme of what the Sabbat is, it was more the players than what the overall game experience can be. So that's what I'm thinking. It's like, has there been a time when you guys have been involved with something and it's gone sour and You didn't really want to do it anymore, but you gave it one more shot and was really provided with an opportunity for that game to be redeemed in your mind.
So I'm gonna go. This is not quite the same because I'll be honest with you, I don't remember what game it was that turned me off for it. But I've never really been huge in the worker placement games, because I don't have management skills. So the concept of managing these resources really kind of turned me off. So I never wanted to. I'm like, oh, it's worker placement. No thanks. And I don't even remember what game it was that turned me off from that. But then I want to say it was Bill at a BillCom brought out Lords of Waterdeep. And I was already a fan of D&D and Pathfinder and that whole fantasy thing or whatever. It's like, you know what? This is D&D themed. Let's give this a try. And it is the quintessential worker placement game. But because it had the right theme behind it, and I was able to envision things like this, I'm going to put my fighters here, I'm going to put my clerics here, this and that and the other. For some reason, it clicked. I ended up buying everything that came out for it, and I absolutely love it. I mean, we don't play it all the time, but something about that game, and Lords of Vegas actually was another one. It's not really full-on worker placement. It's dice placement.
Yeah.
But it's a similar concept, right?
We haven't played it in forever, but I
need to
love
pull it out
that
for
game.
the holidays or something.
Yeah.
Similar concept is that it was this placement resource management, and for some reason, and I have a feeling that was all about the people I was playing with.
Yep, I get it.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah, that was the one that I don't know why I didn't like worker placement games. Because what was that game that we played, the new one with Rob and Emmanuel that you just picked up?
Oh, Dojo-ken.
Dojo-ken. Again, another one of those like worker placement things.
A lot of fun.
First time I played it, which I've only played it once, I kind of, but afterwards I've kind of thought about it. I'm like, I'd play it again.
Yeah. It leaves you with an open mind to go, you know what, I bet if I played that game again, I'd have a much better experience, which I feel like, Emmanuel and Rob we all came away from the table going, yeah, I'd play that again. And then I saw it was super cheap at a used bookstore, and I ended up picking it up because, $20 for that game, I'm down. So, all right. Well, Deb, I think we've given you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Are you still having trouble thinking of one? Because I can think of one for you.
Yeah, me too.
I've got one in my head.
You can
for
think
you
of one for me because I am struggling because of my personality. Once I'm turned off to something, I don't tend to ever want to go back.
Okay.
That's good and bad. It's good in that I know what I like and I know what is interesting and entertaining to me. And I don't tend to go back if it was not a good experience. I'm kind of like, why am I going to repeat that?
Sure.
I don't tend to do that. But that's a bad thing, as you guys are pointing out, because sometimes
I don't think
round two.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that you can be turned off from a game, and then in your head you can jump to conclusions for every experience that might. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I can think of the biggest one of all, which is the really, really big, obvious one, which is probably where you both are going.
Yeah.
Which is Dungeons and Dragons itself.
There we are.
It's
That's
Dungeons
where I
and
was
Dragons
at.
itself. Okay.
That's where I was at.
Okay, so there's your big, really, really obvious one, which is like, really, you forgot that one? Yes, I did, because it's been so long that I have enjoyed role-play games. But that is true. Initially, I was extremely turned off to RPGs, really, overall, Dungeons and Dragons specifically, because of... Initially, I hadn't even played it, but the stories that some of you would tell me about what you did and how you did it in these games, I'm like, if that's what you find entertaining, you guys are freaking me out, and I want to have nothing to do with any of you.
We were savages back then.
Well, if that's one way to describe it, but I'm sorry. You needed a better way to try to turn a girl on to RPGs than the stories you told, because those were no thank you. So yeah, I heard that, and then after Josh and I were dating, I would come over and I would sit, and usually I would be studying or reading or doing something, not exciting or knitting or whatever, while you guys would play. And I would be hearing what you're doing, and a few times I really want to stand up and be like, do you realize what the hell you're doing? Like, I personally think that you're all insane and should all be tossed in with Hades. Like, that's my opinion. Never said that out loud. Well, yeah, exactly.
Twice.
Cthulhu? It's all madness? Maybe that was what it was. I don't know. Either way, was really, really, really turned off. do it and was not going to play. Was frankly like, no,
Yep.
you all are nuts.
Yes.
And no.
That is still true.
Yes. So, and I oddly enough, I think maybe some distance and looking back at what you exposed me to first, RPGs, I think even one of you, I forget who, I think it might have been Tony actually, who was like, I'm so sorry. Like one of you all actually apologized because like that wasn't good. I was like, thank you. One of you all realizes how screwed up that was. You tell me the stories, and then you're like, doesn't that sound fun? I'm like, no, that sounds insane. And right now I want to go and drink, and I don't normally want to drink.
Time to be an evil doppelganger and run through and burn a village down to the ground.
Yeah. Or how about let's
Sounds
change
like a good time.
let's
That's what I
change
did.
gender and let's be in an opposite gender and go rolling around, even though you're a guy rolling around in a mud pit with a bunch of
I
girls.
freed slaves. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because that's the reason
Yeah.
you did it.
But
But there's always there was a but. There is an except.
there's a
although
silver lining.
someone, and I think it was Don.
It was Don.
It was Don. It wasn't Josh.
That
It was
guy.
Don. It was the ENFP that convinced the ISTJ. Yay, cognitive
I said,
functions.
there's another way.
There is another way. And I went, are you serious?
There's
Because
another way.
all I've ever seen is leading me to think that you all can
Well,
never
and-
be it can never be redeemed. It's gone forever.
I had an advantage that a lot of people that we gamed with very early on did not have. The advantage was I didn't start playing Dungeons and Dragons with the people that I was playing with Dungeons and Dragons with at that time.
The first people that I ever
Danielle.
experienced Dungeons and Dragons
Our friends
with.
John and Danielle, they are still dear friends, and we played the same characters. We've talked about them a million times for approximately 6.5, 7 years with them, living with them at times and playing almost every night, and not living with them and playing once, twice, 3 times a week still, and then retiring those characters. So I introduced our friends Mike Massey and Josh here to Dungeons and Dragons with them. I actually played. I know, right? I actually played with them as a character in the game. But I was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons by my dad, and it was with a totally different group of people. And so my experience with Dungeons and Dragons, I had probably 5 years of experience or so with Dungeons and Dragons prior to even introducing myself and Mike and Josh to D&D through our friends John and Danielle. And so, so I knew that the games that we were playing with John and Danielle were very different in nature than anything I had ever played in.
That's a good way to describe it.
Right. And I didn't have a problem with it at the time. And I don't think, even looking back, that I regret the games that we played and the story that we told with those characters and with the people associated with those characters. However, I also knew that there was a different way, if you will. There was a better opportunity for people who didn't want to be exposed to what was, in all intents and purposes, a much more adult-themed Dungeons and Dragons game. That we could have some goofy fun in a high fantasy realm with wizards and dragons and things like that blowing up around us, and really good storytelling that could capture a lot of people. And even, I started running for Deb. She played her first character with me. It was a cleric.
It was.
Trying to remember the name.
It was started with an A. It wasn't Adriana. It was
Yeah.
Yep. Isn't that bad? Sorry, I can't
No, it's
remember
okay.
her name.
It's
But
been a million years.
it was
But that's
started with
also
an A.
the first, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's also the first game that Bonnie got into. So her and you and my friend Paul.
Yep.
And then Mike and Josh and a couple of other friends.
It
we
is the
all
reason
played
why
together.
I still have an affinity for clerics, though, to this day.
Right.
That
And I
is,
remember us having such
so.
a good time. And I remember, maybe not in so many words, but I remember you thanking me at some point for
Yes.
introducing you to a much different experience with Dungeons and Dragons than what you had.
Yes.
Which
Like
I
this,
still to
I
this
can
day
do.
is right.
You know,
which
this I
to this
can
day
do.
I think is so awesome because I know how passionate we are about games like Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games in general.
Yes.
You know, that definitely turned you around with that sort of
And
thing.
I'm a passionate Pathfinder fan, and I'm a passionate because I was
You're
quite passionate about how I did.
role-playing fan.
I am now,
Yeah.
you know, and I was passionate that I didn't enjoy what Fourth Ed did, and
Right.
either for
you
good
like,
or ill.
You and I like Starfinder.
Starfinder.
I can't speak tonight. I don't
Words
know.
are hard.
It's so
Words
I
are
keep
hard. It's the
getting
thanks-
tongue-twisted.
It's the Thanksgiving turkey that's in you. Anyway,
That's right.
But yes, that is true because after that, it actually turned the corner, and I was like, if this is what it is, then I want to keep doing this. But whatever that was, I do not want to do that. Even though you call both of these role playing gaming, they were very different animals to me, and so I could join you guys with Dawn leading the brigade, but I'm like And to this day, even though I did play in a few games at John and Danielle's, to this day, it's still not for me. God bless y'all. You like it. You go on with yourselves. But I just know for myself,
I haven't played
no.
Dungeons and Dragons with John and Danielle since we retired those characters. Really, not anything that was more than a one-off
Right.
here and there. But
Right.
I haven't played
yeah.
a lot of games with them. But I mean, in general, like I think that to me, it's really important that people maybe give something a second opportunity. I'm not saying that you have to, because you know what? Sometimes you play a game and you just know that this is just not for me. This is just not my kind of game. I would say that more so because you get into the game and you realize that the function of the game does not mesh well with your own normal thinking patterns, if you will. Like
There's
if
some
you sit down to play
self-reflection that you
Right.
kind of have to do and know about yourself.
Right. If you're somebody who loves to play more of a reactionary style game and you sit down and play a programming game,
Yep.
you're going to figure out real darn quick that programming is definitely not your genre of game.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah, and
But
there's
knowing
nothing
that,
wrong with that.
Looking at it and going, I didn't have a good experience, but I think it's because of this mechanic in the game, which I really don't enjoy. I mean, you can give yourself a little bit more of a distance as opposed to, I can think early on when I was an early gamer of, I just hate this. I don't know why I hate it. I just hate it. As opposed to now, it's like, I like certain parts, but this aspect of it I did not enjoy. So I probably wouldn't play it again because of this reason. Like I can, with more knowing myself a little better and knowing what kind of gaming I enjoy, it gives you. You can also kind of look at a game and watch others play it. I've noticed this now as we're especially at Gen Con, and watch and be like, yeah, that won't be for me. That would drive me nuts. Otherwise, then you watch and play a little bit and you're like, no, this is starting to resonate with me. I think this is something that I would really enjoy. That's easier now for me. I wouldn't have been 8 years ago or something. I would have been much harder. But now there's enough experience behind you to be able to say, yeah, I like that mechanic. That's one I know I'll enjoy. Or you see that and be like, nope, that'll drive me nuts. I'm just going to keep going. So I don't know if that's not fair, but if you know yourself well enough, then I think that you can give yourself, you can kind of know where your boundaries are going to be,
Yeah,
and you can know
absolutely.
when something's going to be like, no, that's going to be too much for me. Or there are those gray areas where I might enjoy this. I need to play it to really find out.
And sometimes you can be super closed off.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to give something a chance. And
Yeah.
and you know what? Sometimes you're super closed off, and you give something a chance, and you go, "Yep, I didn't like that," and I figured I wouldn't. But
At least I
think you
tried.
should at least try. You should at least
Yeah.
try new things.
At least you
But,
tried.
Yeah, I think that's a great discussion. I know that we're winding down and we're getting things here to the end of our episode. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you enjoyed our time together in episode 208. To play or not to play? That is the question. I know we've got a lot going on, and I'm going to wrap things up here. We got a lot coming up for 2020 already. You know, I mean, it's just now the beginning of December, and Christmas is around the corner. Year end will be a little bit after that. But in general, you know, we're looking forward to the rest of this month and 2019 and what's going to come next year. It'll be our 9th year of doing this in the summer of next year. 9 years. Speaking of the summer of next year, if you have not already, please do make sure you get on Con Planner. Come out and see everybody at Fear the Con in June. You can check out the Fear the Con Facebook group and Con Planner for specific dates. It's conplanner.com, I believe.
June 19th and 20th
There you
of
go.
2020.
Or Joshy will give them to you. 19th and 20th of June, there's still room in the Drury if you need to rent a room. I believe there may even be a block of rooms reserved for people going to Fear the Con. Definitely check out all that information. Come out and see us. If you're in the Indy area, there's a bunch of really awesome 2020 conventions coming around the corner that we're looking forward to hopefully being at and hopefully seeing you guys come and check us out. Anyhow, all right. On episode 207, Cosplay Creations, we set a new established fact that reads, make the costume for you or find someone who will. I feel like that is a very practical mentality to have.
Very.
And for episode 208 of the Established Facts, to play or not to play, we have established that sometimes a game leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And sometimes you try it from another chef.
Oh, nice cooking analogy.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 208 of the Established Facts. We love you all. Merry Christmas. And we will check you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Deuces.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.